I can only speak for mine personally. Being autistic and the stereotypes associated with that really got in the way. I didn't understand it at the time, but in hindsight, how do I start with this?
Sorry, can we just like do that again? Okay, hi. Okay, so you want an introduction from me. Mine is like the experience of someone with addiction who is like trans and queer and being a survivor. Yeah.
Well, I think of people not wanting to sit next to me on the bus because I didn't have clean clothes or I just finished sleeping in a McDonald's.
Like, I was living on and off the streets. Both my parents have their own separate mental health problems. There was abuse in my life, there was neglect in my life, straight up insanity in my life. No one said 2 words to me about it. You know, I'd sit in the counselor's office underneath a teardrop-shaped poster about how depression isn't always obvious, and still nobody ever sat down and asked if I was okay.
I do run an organization for queer people in the autism spectrum, not having everyone understand you. It's excruciating, it's vulnerable, it feels like prison.
Yeah, there's definitely some things that are really hard to just actually like talk about. I've had problems with depression and anxiety and PTSD for a very long time, but I didn't actually know that for years and years and years.
There's days when you're happy being different, you know? It's kind of like your badge of honor. It's something to be proud about, but there's days where you just don't feel like you belong. And kind of just wrecks you.
There still is a lot of stigma around mental illness, as if you know, society or people don't believe what you struggle with on a day-to-day basis is a real thing. It really does affect you as a person.
Being someone from like a poor single family, the way I was taught to cope was not to look at those issues.
People kind of treat it like they have to stay away from it, like they're offending you if they talk to you about it. But it needs to be discussed, because how else are we supposed to find an answer?
When I was really young, I started making songs, but they didn't really have much meaning. And then after a traumatic event that happened in my life, I started using it as an outlet, and I just took out a pen and paper and just started writing it down and decided to turn it into music.
With mental health cycles that aren't very pleasant, painting, sketching, and bits became a bit of a therapy for me. So I use it to express.
As an autistic individual, my brain just thinks visually. Words failed me a lot growing up, so that just became a natural way to express myself. It's my language.
People can express feelings and experiences through art that might otherwise take an incredible amount of bravery to express. The Mood Disorders Association, as well as BC Partners for Mental Health, we've been doing focus groups around the province to meet with youth who have experience with stigma related to their substance use or mental health. They decided that they would like us to find youth with lived experience who create art as a way of sharing the stories that we've received. That's exciting. We need to let people tell their own stories.
I've been drawing for like the communities I've been a part of a lot of my life, like the ones I was in when I was a street kid and a punk.
It's those sort of worlds that need representation the most because there's no like dominant social narrative for them. And I think of art as like cultural production in a way.
Talking about mental health is something that, especially with people that don't have much experience with it beforehand, it can feel very kind of vulnerable and raw and painful.
Especially things that we've gone through that are difficult to describe in words, and so through music and through poetry, I'm better able to let that out.
There are so many intangible concepts that verbal language is just too limited to explain, so art is really the only way to do so. It offers us multiple perspectives.
My painting means something to me, and it might mean something completely different to someone else. And that's what I love about art. There's no right answer.
To just create something lasting and you can look back on and acknowledge like the steps you've taken to get to this place, and I'll one day get to look at this piece and say, man, that was a pretty shitty time. Have a laugh and move on.
You can often tell just from right away if you see something and go like, hey, I love that, or hey, that hurts a little bit, or hey, that makes me uncomfortable. Like, it's usually a very visceral reaction. So that's kind of the biggest reason I'm doing it. It's because it's a skill that I have that can be used to help other people kind of recognize what they're going through. So
Art can definitely help us heal because of how we use it, and if we use it as an outlet, we can express ourselves through that. And by releasing these emotions from ourselves, from our mind, getting it out of our head, that is healing in itself. And I think that's really gonna lead us on the right path.
I don't think that my brain fog or my inability to focus means that I'm like bad, you know, or non-functional. I think those things can actually be useful. It just means that I have different needs and need to be a part of and create spaces where what I have can be like used and valued. And I would not be here without that. So I want to be there making that for me and my people. Yeah? Yeah.
I'd say you're not alone. You're loved, you're cared for, there's resources out there. Talk about it, get help. You're not alone. Add your voice to the conversation. Let's normalize this.
Most of my work is trying to express what can't really be seen on the surface.
I think it's amazing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. It's over.